All right, guys, you guys ready? Yep. Done networking? Having fun? All right, really quick before I start, I need everybody to do something here. I'm gonna throw this in my vlog. On three, make a lot of noise. 1, 2, 3. All right, cool, we're done with that. Okay, I got some really complicated shit that I'm gonna go over with you guys tonight, and it's gonna be most likely over a lot of people's heads, so is it okay if I take it slow? If we can ask questions? Show of hands, how many people in the room have not done a real estate deal? It's okay. I was once one of you. Well, no, I don't count. But don't be ashamed. Not too bad. Okay. 3 to 5 deals. Okay. Cool. Over 10? Over 20? I mean, you can just keep going. Between me and the gentleman in the red jacket in the back, over the last 19 years, November will be 20, we've closed over 1,000 real estate transactions. Yeah. Learned a few things along the way. What we do is a little bit different than what most people do. So I'm going to take you guys through it. Like I said, we're going to go slow. Boom, here we go. What we do predominantly is we buy houses with little money and no credit, okay? We do not put down large down payments. We don't write big checks. How many people have been taught you have to put down at least $1,000? Show of hands on a real estate deal. Raise them high. Who taught you that?
You're a real estate agent.
Tell your real estate agent they're fucking wrong. And if they want to come challenge me on it, they can. I took the real estate class. That's merely what they suggest. I also went to law school. I just don't have a degree. I put my first ex-wife, the prosecutor, through law school. And when you pay for law school, you can audit as many classes as you want. So I sat through every real estate law class you could possibly sit through. In fact, I've done literally every job in this business I can think of for free. I've worked for title companies for months. I've worked for lawyers as the worst paralegal you've ever met. But I've learned a lot. So we don't write big checks. Matter of fact, a lot of the deals, I'm going to show you a few of them tonight. We can show you a few that we're actively working on. We're into for as little as $10. You know, Bob Okar over here. Go ahead, stand up. He's like, I'm really proud of this guy. How many transactions you got locked up right now? 5. You got 5. What's the most we put down?
$5.
$5.
$5.
And we videoed it. And it's only because the guy also knew the law and he made sure that we put something down.
Wholesaling?
No. Matter of fact, one of them, we actually just closed on in Jersey City, subject to in a land trust, but we didn't record the deed yet. We may pay it off because it goes to sheriff's sale on April 15th. Matter of fact, if anybody wants to fund it in the room, we got it at what, 280, boss?
Yeah.
Got it at 280, gotta have it paid off by April 13th if you wanna come to the table with the cash. If not, we're gonna put it on one of our credit lines. I'd rather give you guys the interest in our network. And the highest offer we got right now is $350, but there's an open house this weekend where, what do we think it's worth, AJ?
$350, just about.
$350 just about?
Yeah, approximately.
I think if you look on Zillow, it says like $398. Zillow's wrong.
Zillow is wrong.
Yeah. We typically do not guarantee debt. When you guys are starting out, I don't want you to guarantee debt at all. You're not going to take out mortgages. When you take out a mortgage, anybody who knows what the word mortgage means? Yeah, agreement till death. I am married again now for the second time. I don't need any more agreements till death in my life. There's my lovely wife and my son over there. But raise your hand. He's actually bought a couple houses. Table the closings. He hasn't been to eviction court yet. Finally, we do not work with people who do not want to work with us, okay? Some of the shit that I'm gonna show you tonight is gonna be pretty crazy. And I know when I closed my first couple transactions, when I started doing this, there was nothing like it in the state of New Jersey. And lawyers couldn't really figure out how I put it together. They'd be like, wait. So you got this house for $10, they signed it over to you, and you're gonna make $100 grand. Is the person tied up in the trunk of your car? No, we closed my fucking deal, you're gonna be out of it. Stop asking questions. Predominantly, what we do is wholesaling or assignment of contract. We do a lot of subject to deals, and we do some short sales. This is the absolute basics. This is like ABC right here, okay? There is a million other things once you learn how this works. And there's two things you gotta learn in this business, right? The first thing is when you're prospecting for leads, is it's all about collecting and retaining information. Collect and retain, collect and retain, collect and retain, collect and retain, follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. The fortune is in the follow-up. I recently, in 2018, took down a deal for $260,000. That is my net, not my gross, that I followed up with for 16 years. Was it worth it? Phone call a month, right? 5 minutes here, go visit the guy where he works at Home Depot. I should show you a little trick I used on that one. I'm gonna show you some interesting hybrids of this stuff tonight and how we get out of some of them. Anybody have any questions before I move on? Have I lost anybody yet? Can I go a little quicker?
You can, yeah.
Charles has a question.
Okay. So we get into these deals incredibly light. I know I got a bunch of people here in our C4 program. Show of hands who's in it. All right. You guys pull comps before you go out and look at houses?
What's that?
Exactly. We don't pull comps. We don't do research. We do not guarantee debt. We do not put down large down payments. We just go out and I give you permission to be absolutely trigger happy. You use our paperwork. Go ahead. You can be reckless. Because what's the worst case scenario, Lana? You lose your down payment, and if that's low, you lose your $5, your $10, whatever. We take massive, massive action. We practice ready, fire, aim real estate. They call them back, you create rapport, you make an appointment, and you go. No big negotiation, there's no pulling comparables. You beat those people there. You get these properties under contract, and times you even buy them before anybody else can get there. I guarantee we'll beat all these fortune builders and home investors people to the punch because I used to own one of their franchises. I've sold them more houses than I've ever bought with them. We do this by taking massive action. Everybody say this with me. Action is your most valuable asset.
Action is your most valuable asset.
Do you believe it?
Yes.
Okay, it's actually a phrase that I know and I trademarked it. Mike's got everybody's contact information. He's gonna file a lawsuit against everybody in the room tomorrow morning. We're gonna double the entry fee on the way out. The majority of these transactions we do with tabletop closings. Who wants to take a stab at what a tabletop closing is? What's up?
No title company.
No title company,
NFL.
NFL, who else?
Get the door.
Okay, how about, yeah, get the deed, get the door. Who has actually bought a property traditionally in the room? Show of hands. Very cool. Okay, you guys go out there and sign like a phone book full of documents? You realize that that's not necessary to transfer title. There's only about 12 to 18 documents that are necessary to transfer title. Everything you guys signed are traditional mortgage documents. So what a tabletop closing is, what I like to call an NFL style closing, means no fucking lawyer. No title company, in other words, we don't get title insurance. We'll check title, so we know what's there. And then we'll buy the property subject to all the existing liens and or encumbrances. Okay? I have found out many things that I had been taught even in law school, were wrong. Many things I've been taught by title companies were wrong. Has anybody ever heard that title cannot transfer after a lis penens has been filed? You've heard that? Show of hands, who's heard that? All right, that's a fucking lie. I've done it hundreds of times. How about title cannot transfer in bankruptcy? Everybody hear that? It's also a lie. This is textbook knowledge. We're working on real world shit here. We actually have a class coming up on April 1st on tabletop closings where we're going to teach you how for an entire day to sit down with sellers, build rapport, what to say, what not to say, how to create your own closing documents. When I get done with you, AJ's done it, Bob Ocar's done it, Clint and I have done it countless times. You'll be able to meet with the seller, be in and out 90 minutes or less, and represent that you not only have the property under contract, but that you in fact own it, because you do, and it will hold up in a court of law. Sound pretty powerful?
Yes.
Anybody think they might want to learn how to do that? Show of hands. Okay. See this pop-up over here? There's a QR code on the bottom of that pop-up. If you scan it on the way out, you'll actually get a 200-page binder and a 24-hour audio course that I put together in 2007. I sold 53,000 of them for $2,000 a pop. I still use it as a reference in our office today. It's a cookbook style manual on how to do this and all the stuff that I'm going to show you tonight. And a lot of you are going to tell me it still doesn't work. So don't talk. All right, can I move on?
I still have it.
You still have it?
Yeah, look at you.
I've had people bring them back and ask me to autograph them. Mario Camino, that's what we used to do a lot of traditional marketing. Right now, we get the majority of our leads through our C4 program, which is our cold calling coaching community. I'll go into that with you later. But basically, we screen scrape a lis penens list. AJ Santana and Mike DeLeon back there run the program. They then skip trace everybody who's in pre-foreclosure. If I remember correctly, they then cross-reference it by other forms of distress, who's divorced, who's bankrupt, who's gone to jail. And they stack the lists for you, so you guys make a minimum of 75 calls a week to people losing their homes. You either get in contact with the members there, or you put them in the follow-up system. Your goal is nothing more than to make an appointment. The more phone calls you make, the more appointments you make. The more appointments you make, the more money you make. You see the correlation there? I've studied this for years. There is a direct correlation. It goes like this: the more you make, the more you make. So, this is how we get into deals. Tonight, I'm going to go over some pretty high-level shit. It's going to be how to get out. How many of you guys have deals going on right now? Show of hands. One, this is going to be a good night for you. Mike, AJ, Mike over here, Bob over there, and hey, it's bedtime. If I bring you up here, you can be quiet. Concept I want you guys to grasp, right? Can we all agree that 50 cents today is better than $1 that may never materialize? So you got a transaction. You got a transaction with potential 50 grand in it. You got a transaction with potential 100 grand in it, and there's a deadline. This is why people sell things to you and sell them to you, and they have to move quickly. If you can't get it to come out the back end before it's foreclosed on, what do you get?
Nothing.
Nothing. You get 100% of nothing. So we'd rather have a piece of something, correct?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to show you how to slash and burn tonight, spend phantom profit, it's like you're going to be rich before you're rich, and get these things to close quicker. Well, you do something that realtors don't like to do. Anybody over here steering?
Yes.
Yes.
Who thinks it's bad?
It's illegal, right?
Steering is the greatest fucking thing on the planet. Would you get in a car without being able to steer? I'm going somewhere, right? Okay, realtors don't really do anything. I hate to say it, but they're like cheerleaders on the sidelines. The average realtor's career lasts about 6 months. Did you know that? Well, now you do. If you don't know, now you know. Look it up. Steering is amazing, right? So if I could take half of my proceeds And I could literally overpay people, set my buyer up to succeed, set my seller up to succeed, and literally pay everybody else to be on my team and have their allegiance, so we all work together in unison, so I can close more deals quicker and make less. Is that better than just losing deals? We all say yes?
Yes.
Okay. All right, move over this quick. This is one of my first transactions, right? I did this one in 2004. I knocked this thing out in 20 days. I will admit, I did not sleep much in that 20 days. This is in Teaneck. Hey, babe, it may be time for him to go home. Good night, Charles. So, really quickly, I want you guys to totally grasp this, because most people just go down to the bottom line number, right? My deposit on this particular transaction, $10, right?
Yes.
Purchased it for $350, sold it for $389. My gross profit was $39,000. This is one of my first deals. I learned this stuff pretty quick. This is actually the number one first deal. Paid everybody's closing costs, mine, the sellers, had to pay back taxes, child support, okay? I even gave them a rate buy down to make it go real quick, because if I didn't close it in 20 days, you know what I got?
Zero.
Zero. You realize I spent almost as much as I made? Did I do okay?
Yeah.
That's right. You wanna see a bigger one?
Yep.
This is one I pulled off in 2017 in my self-directed Roth IRA. From a $100 investment, right? Now, if I had been cheap and a penny pincher, I literally pinched the fucking beard right off Abe Lincoln, right? I probably could have made over $300,000 with this. But is that acceptable? Okay. We understand we're gonna slash and burn to make stuff happen quickly. All right, this is the bulk of what we're gonna go over tonight. Guys out?
Yes.
Okay, love you, goodbye. I'll see you tonight. We'll finish the Elvis documentary when we get home. Elvis on HBO, really good show. All right, we're gonna go from basics to complicated shit. Bye-bye. Everybody say goodbye.
Bye.
Oh my God, sorry, I gotta add that to my blog too. Everybody say goodbye.
Bye. Charles.
Now that the distractions are over. Seller's concession. I'm gonna break that down for you and to show you what it is. A rate buy down. Has anybody heard of that?
Yes.
Anybody not heard of it? Okay, we're gonna take our time and go through it. Down payment assistance. The government is bringing this back, but we're not gonna do it with the government. I'm gonna show you how to do it yourself with your own money or somebody else's. Short-term personal loans, which is actually a way to loan money to the buyer as down payment assistance and then get it back and not pay taxes on it. You only make that mistake once. Refinancing into a subject to, which is gonna be really cool. This is when you have somebody who has a property and they want more money than you're willing to give them and more money than their debt load. You can actually show them how to refinance, pull money out, and keep the same amount of money by pulling less money out, and you get a property with more equity in it. I'm gonna show you upside down houses that we have subject to where we've modified the loans, so they're positively cash flowing. And I'll show you how we're gonna turn one into an Airbnb, so it's even more positively cash flowing. Selling owner finance houses, owner finance. Anybody in the room done an owner finance deal? Okay, 1, 2. They're not as rare as you might think. Matter of fact, anybody ever come up against a free and clear house? So what was your first line of defense, guys?
Seller finance.
What did you do, John Paul?
Got on the contract.
Good. Did you make an owner financing
No,
on it?
I signed it.
You
So
signed
it
it?
was a wholesale.
Okay.
I mean, That was a option, but I.
Yeah, I usually always open up with owner financing because there's no limit to how many of these owner financing loans you can have. And you can create the terms as you go. So, we're working out. And then we're gonna show you selling subject to. I actually have one of these available right now. And then I'm gonna show you how to encumber your own properties with debt that you own, so you don't have to pay any taxes. Anybody in here looking at getting married in the near future? Okay, you guys have assets? This is one of the few things that I've actually been paid lots of money for to help people beat divorces before the marriage even happens. We'll get into that, that's the last little party trick for you tonight. All right, 3 major parts to every transaction. Now, if we're gonna steer, which is not illegal, it's just bad if you're a realtor, but if you're an investor, it's the greatest fucking thing on planet Earth, everybody say yes.
Yes.
Okay, because why would you wanna have less control? Here's a car with no steering wheel, go. It's got a gas pedal. So, legal, hey, do me a favor, turn your phone on silent,
That's what I'm doing right now.
thanks. Title and finance. Out of these 3, which is the most important piece of the puzzle to control? Legal.
Title?
No.
Finance.
Finance. Why is it finance? Why do bank robbers rob banks?
That's what the money is.
There you go, right? Probably the most important thing you can have in any one of your transactions, if you're selling it with a loan, is a decent mortgage broker. Title companies, you can replace. Lawyers, you can replace. But any mortgage brokers in the room? Kevin, you're the closest thing we got. I'm sorry. How long does it take to underwrite a loan?
Depends on what kind of loan is needed, but it could generally take about 48 hours if the borrower is cooperative in getting the paperwork back.
48 hours when? What year was this? The quickest I ever saw it happen was 5 days in 2005 in
You said
Countrywide.
underwrite a loan, you didn't say close the loan.
Underwrite and close a loan.
Oh, underwrite and close the loan, you have a week. But I've closed a couple $1 million deals, in 48 hours.
Okay, how about your normal first-time home buyer or
Right.
investor?
So first time home buyer, yeah, it's gonna take, I say everybody's gonna take 30 days window. Could go faster, could go 15 days, but it could be 45.
30 days, and by 30 days, I feel like 60 is the new 30, and 90 is quickly becoming the new 30, as lending guidelines tighten up. I have not seen a residential mortgage close in 30 days, probably in the past 5 years, have you?
Can't say that.
Well, then send me your deals, because I'll have them done quick.
Okay,
Serious.
who's gonna write the loans?
Me and Ian,
Okay.
my underwriter Ian.
Jan Savory, spoke to him the other day.
Okay, you're a good guy.
The most irreplaceable thing of every transaction is gonna be the financial piece, and I'm not even gonna go into this too much tonight, but I'm gonna show you how to steer and control your buyer to use your mortgage people, lawyers you want, and the title company you want, so they close quickly. When you do get a good mortgage guy with you, work with him, help him out, be like a little loan processor. Even ask the buyer's permission if you could be CC'd on all the emails, so you can get everything that they see at the same time. Oh, did you get your tax returns? No, why? They're in my attic. Oh, well, let's go up there and fucking get them. And, I mean, it's what closes loans. So, let's get into it. Seller's concession. What's a seller's concession? Who wants to take a stab at it? What was your name?
Isaiah.
Isaiah. Go ahead, stand up so we can hear you.
It's when the seller agrees to pay some portion of the money for you buying the property.
Partial credit. It's okay, it's pretty good. You're very close. Who else? Has anybody used one before? Used one. Nobody else has used one. Wow. I am blown away.
That's what you would try to shoot for. Right?
All right.
Closing.
Compromises?
It's gifting a portion of your proceeds back to the seller to cover the cost of closing, but not to exceed the cost of closing. You cool on that? So typically, you're gonna have to talk to the lender that your buyer is using. This is why it's good to have that person in your circle, under your wing, in your pocket, okay? And you take care of them. They take care of you. So they're gonna dictate the language that's used in your purchase and sales agreement when you sell the house that you own or you have under contract as an assignment to a buyer. It's typically gonna sound something like, the seller will grant buyer a seller's concession in the amount of $15,000 to cover cost of closing, but not to exceed cost of closing. Because they don't want you walking away with any money. So is it gonna be $15,000? No, but anything up to that is covered. Sometimes it'll be a percentage of the loan. I must be doing good with this, because Kevin Clark ain't critiquing me.
Question,
Answer.
do most lenders not allow seller's concession?
In my experience, all lenders allow for seller's concessions, but you need to talk to the lender, and you need to ask them how much they allow as a seller's concession. Now, I'm gonna bounce this one off my colleague Kevin. Kevin, any lenders you know not allow seller's concessions?
I would say 50% don't allow it.
I'm not using that 50%. Why would they get rid of one of the greatest tools I got?
Is that money coming from the seller's profit?
I'm gonna show you where that money's coming from. Okay, so technically, it is coming from the seller's profit, right? Because I can go back to here, right? Could have made that, but I slashed and burned and I made that, okay? So let's look at it like, back to our slide. Seller's concession, I either own or I have a house under contract at $250, right? It's worth $300. There's a potential $50,000 in that transaction. But as we already discussed before, 50 cents today is better than $1 that may never materialize. I don't know what you heard about me. So let's look at it like this. You either own a house or you have it under contract at $250. It's worth $300. There's a potential $50,000 in profit in that deal. You sell it at $275, right? We already know that it's worth $300. If you sell it at $275 and add on the seller's concession, bringing the purchase price up to $290, right? We already know that it'll appraise because we've already determined from comps that it's worth $300. So they're actually gonna pay more. You're still gonna get your $275, but you're gonna gift them back $15,000. You can increase the purchase price. You follow me, Bob O'Carr? You follow me, AJ?
Yes.
Mike, you follow me? Is anybody's mind blown yet? John Paul, you got a question?
Well, more of a comment. I actually did this twice as the buyer, so my realtor, in order for me not to pay closing costs, the person wanted $350, we offered $360, so they can include the seller's concession.
Yeah.
So that obviously.
Hey, you bump up the purchase price. Don't know why you're using a realtor. Yeah,
That's why I'm here now. So, trying to learn different ways.
that's cool. So you can increase the purchase price, and then you cut back into it, and you still walk with your $25,000 profit. So the buyer does have to pay a little bit more monthly on that loan, all right? But what's $15,000 amortized over 30 years on a monthly basis, Kevin? Like 25 cents a month? It's really not much. And if your buyer buys the house and they have an extra $15,000 in the bank when they buy it, that does them a tremendous disservice, right? Mary Ann?
You know, I'm one of those agents that you love. I'm gonna play devil's advocate. So where does the appraisal fit in here? Because I'm working a deal now, I don't wanna say real estate, but with the seller's concession.
Are you talking about paying for the appraisal?
No, it just has to appraise.
Well, yeah, it does have to have a value, right? And we sell these things under market, right?
Right.
So if you have sold comparables, which are what your appraiser uses to determine value, everybody understand that? You understand that sold comparables within 1 square mile in the last 6 months of that particular property that match it only almost identically are what determines the value of that property. Does everybody get that?
Yeah.
Yes.
And we also understand that human beings are fucking lazy.
Yes.
So if you have those sold comparables, and you meet your appraiser, and you go, here, I did your homework for you,
They hate that.
and here's your coffee, just how you like it. And if you look in my back pocket, here's the 5th of Jack I always get. See you at the strip club later tonight. This is business, in my experience, they don't hate that at all. And you know who likes that even better? BPO agents. How much do BPO agents get for a BPO?
$25.
$25, $40, $60, and they have to split that with their broker. Doesn't even cover fucking gas. Here, I did your homework for you. Get to know these people. Ask them about all the other BPOs they're doing too, because most of those deals will fall through. Oh, lead source one.
That's pro tip.
Yeah, pro tip, bro. You know how I get those short sales? One by one. Write that down. All right, we got any more questions on this?
So you're offering the buyer the 15 grand as just like a sweetener, or is that like?
It's a fucking ethical bribe. You wanna buy my property at $275, he wants to buy my property at $275, you wanna buy my property, everybody here wants to buy this property at $275, I'll tell you what, if you're willing to use my mortgage broker, I'd be willing to sell it to you for $290 and gift you back $15,000 to cover your cost of closing. So when you close on this house, sure, your payment's like $5 more a month, but you have an extra $15,000 that you could spend on furniture, that you could spend taking your wife on vacation, that you could lose in Atlantic City, right? You do whatever you want with it, but it's yours, because I'm giving you this gift. So if you don't want that, and you don't want to use my mortgage broker, there's 1,000 uses, there's only one of me. I'll just move on to the next one. Got it? Bottle guard.
When you're marketing this deal, can you market a seller's concession before you have a buyer, or do you need the buyer before you can figure out if you have to?
So I will put ads out there, right, and Mike, we should probably do more of this. On top of our ads, seller's concession, rate buy down, down payment assistance available. Ask, okay? And even if they don't know, they might ask, and you can help somebody become more sophisticated.
How is this applicable to an assignment of contract? Will the seller's concession come out of your assignment fee? Because you're the contract owner, right?
It did here,
Yeah, so, okay, so that's how.
Yeah.
So
you just assign it for more,
Okay.
right? Now, the lender that your buyer's using has to be cool with the assignment. And this is an older deal, there's another way to get around that. I'm not gonna go into that tonight because, I mean, we're just not gonna fucking go home. If you guys want, we can have them make coffee, we can stay till like midnight.
And come on Saturday.
What's up?
Chuck, is it considered seller concessions if like you selling the person the property and they just say, hey, listen, this is messed up with the house, it's gonna be $2,000, and if you give them the credit for $2,000 instead of just fixing it?
I think it's technically considered a credit,
Okay.
and to even make things like that go smoother, I've just been like, so, yeah, it's gonna cost what? Who's your contractor? At the closing, I'll bring a certified check to that contractor for $1,000 for labor, and I'll give you a $1,000 Home Depot gift card. Stop stalling the process and stop talking to the fucking lawyer I gave you. He tells me everything anyway, even though he's not supposed to. That's why I pay him. That's why I overpay him. Can I move on?
Yeah.
Is this cool so far?
Yes.
Who's lost? It's gonna get a lot more complicated. All right, again, the reason we do this is steering. spell steering?
You can keep going.
I'm gonna pause for a second to count the fucks that I don't give. And I will openly admit that I'm dyslexic, and I do have a scholarship for dyslexic children that will be going on this summer for 20 years. It's been funded by this shit, so now we're gonna move on. All right, what is a rate buy down? Who wants to take a stab at that?
When you pay a large sum of money to the lender to drop the points down. So if mortgage is 7%, you pay 10,000 and they'll drop it to 6%.
Yeah, and again, this is where you're gonna have to work with that same mortgage broker who's gonna give you the language for seller's concession. So have you done this before?
Yes, they're coming back. We haven't seen them in a while, but now it's, everyone's complaining that the rates are too high. Well, you got 10,000 chilling in the bank, why don't you buy down the rate? Or else you're living with your mom.
There you go. So if I'm gonna pay all their closing costs out of my proceeds by pumping up the price to control the loan so they have more money in the bank, conceivably, could I take the money in that seller's concession that's not used for the cost of closing and use it to then spend as much of the remaining 15,000 as possible to buy down that rate, even just a fraction of a point, so I can save them money monthly over the course of the next 30 years to buy their loyalty and go, I have this list of 5 approved lawyers, I really think you should pick this one.
I think that's a question for Kevin, because I'm not sure if you could disclose all that and it's legal, yeah, why not?
I just disclosed it.
Oh, then, yeah.
I'm not a realtor.
Yeah.
The only license I have is a fishing license and a driver's license.
Right.
I
If
need
you,
to use
yeah.
the fishing license more.
And a marriage license too.
I forgot about that. So rate buy down. Spending your potential profit to buy down the buyer's interest rate. You cool with that?
Yes.
Oh, by the way, guys, I turned on StreamYard, so this is all like gonna be posted in the Creative Real Estate Club afterwards online on the Facebook group if you wanna watch it. Just didn't turn the camera around to see your smiling faces. All right, so let me give this to you conceptually, right? Boom. Under contract, where you own it at 250. We've established via comps, it's worth 300. Potential profit is 50, right? You sell it 275, seller's concession. Closing costs are actually probably only about $8,000, right? Give or take. They're gonna fluctuate, they're gonna vary over time, based on how badly the lawyer rakes you over the coals. Brings the purchase price to 290. We know that it goes up to 15,000, but it can't exceed the cost of closing. So if the closing costs are 8,000, the profit could be 32. We understand that. We comprehend. Anybody sleep?
Chuck?
Yeah.
Question. So why is a seller selling a property that's appraised at 300 to 250?
I mean, number one, I'm the seller, and I bought it at 250, right? And I'm selling it for 275. And this is a really good question, right? Why would somebody sell a property for 250 that's worth 300? Why would somebody sell a property, and we were discussing one earlier, like 235 that we have sold at 350? Why is the sky blue? Why do chicks dig me? These are questions I stopped looking for answers for. I'm just happy that they do, right? And the answer, I believe, is it's some form of distress in all of those situations. Biological clock is ticking and they're getting desperate. I'm the only option. Brutally honest and fuck it, why not? You don't understand why they want to sell it under market until you ask them and really dig deep, or until you're in that situation yourself, until you are a don't wanter. Anybody sold anything under market to get rid of it? Yeah, what'd you sell, man?
Chair,
What?
chair, I just took my.
Yeah, I'm just gonna throw it out, share, what'd you sell?
I just got rid of a house, I lost 1,200 on it, but I don't wanna get rid of it.
Exactly. Boss, what'd you sell?
3 houses in foreclosure.
Anybody else? So what if we did this? Same exact scenario, under contract, or you own it at 250, worth 300, potential profit 50,000. We're gonna sell it at 275. We're gonna give them the seller's concession at 15,000. The closing costs are 8,000. We have another 7,000 left that we can either walk away with, or we could spend that money to set our buyer up to succeed. We understand that this is a relationship business, right? Understand we do the right thing, it comes back around, where we all say yes.
Yeah.
Shit's pretty biblical. Do one to others, AJ. Brings the purchase price up to 290. Close quickly. It sets the seller up for success. So, let me give you an example, right? Rate buy down $7,000. Remainder of the seller's concession is used to buy down the seller's interest rate for the life of the loan. Now, I'm not saying 7,000 could buy it down like this, but this is an example, all right? And this is how, again, we already know that by offering a seller's concession, not only did we set them up to succeed with more money in the bank, but we've purchased their loyalty, and they are now using the mortgage broker that we want them to use. Everybody understand that? Well, I'll say yes. Unless you're a realtor, and even if you are a realtor, I got a disclosure in that book back there where you can get them to sign it. It says, I am a realtor, but I am not functioning as one on this transaction, and you're off the hook.
Now, as far as the rate buy down, you said you're doing that to help the buyer, right? But in every situation, wouldn't a rate buy down always help the buyer? So are you always offering?
So
a
the
rate buy
rate
down?
buy down will not only help the buyer, the rate buy down will also help me. Because I'm giving you a seller's concession, okay? And you're gonna use this mortgage broker. And we are gonna work on this together. See, because you wanna buy the house and I wanna sell the house. So we're on the same team. And we're gonna make sure everybody else on this team plays together. So that's me, you, and the mortgage broker. And I'm gonna give you a rate buy down, and you're gonna use this lawyer, and I'm gonna save you money over the life of the loan, right? So if I could just give you an example, buying it down half a point, that's how much you would save. That's the difference in payment monthly. That's without taxes and insurance. It's just the mortgage itself. And to give you an idea, you're buying a fancy new house, you're saving $120 a month. You can take your wife out to dinner. You're saving $1,400 plus a year. You can take her on a shitty vacation. Or you're saving $43,000 over the life of the loan, which is a tremendous chunk of change. So now that you've got the house in the neighborhood that you wanted, can I buy you a fucking entry-level Tesla too? Great. You're gonna use this lawyer. We cool? We have an understanding? Don't fuck with me, I'll take it back.
So do you try and offer that to everyone that you, or is it just certain situations? that
If
you
it
offer?
works and there's enough equity to slash and burn, right? And I mean, this is, I was up at 4 a.m. with you and AJ and murder on my mind, right? Because we gotta start killing more of these things. This is for you guys, to make more of these things come out the back end more and more, okay? So every time we can do this, again, I go back to my boy Fitty. Got it?
Got it.
So basically, it just goes smoother when everyone's on board, when you have the same team play in, play out. You don't wanna start finding people that go to different brokers or if they.
No, fuck you. You wanna pay me 300? I'm selling it to the guy for 290, who's gonna use the mortgage broker that I like and the lawyer that I like, because lawyers don't do shit, all right? Matter of fact, their paralegals do everything. Look at all the lawyers in my phone, next to each one of them, I actually have the names of their paralegals saved too, so I can call them by name, because it's the most beautiful sound that anybody ever hears is their own fucking name, right? They do all the work, and the lawyers usually pick one thing apart, especially if there's nothing wrong with the transaction, and they go, oh no, let's negotiate on this, I need to justify my $2,500 fee. And then I go, this is like our 9th transaction where you've been representing one of my buyers. How much are you charging me? 25, fucking double it. Stop talking. I don't pay you to think. I pay you to fucking close. Lawyer, it's like plumber. Only a good plumber's hard to find. You went to law school to work for an asshole like me.
But I'm trying to protect you.
No, you're trying to protect the buyer. You're not even supposed to be having this conversation, but you are anyway. So remember that. Now, close. Okay? And it's good to know that too, because realtors will offer to take money over, all kinds of shit.
So, just so I'm clear, like, I'm all about the spirit of giving, right? But like, you're giving the buyer these incentives, right? Like, the reciprocity is so that you strengthen your relationship with your mortgage broker and your lawyer, that's the main.
Okay, sales is like sex, right? It's you and a buyer, you're about to engage into something, I'll do you, you do me.
Yeah.
I'll give you a seller's concession if you use the mortgage broker I want.
Right.
I'll buy down your rate if you go down, all right. We wanna make sure everybody has a good experience.
Right. Well,
And they might buy another house from you, that's how you get repeat business.
Sure.
Both ways.
Question over you.
Yo,
Chuck, in this example, is this applicable to an assignment of contract and rate buy down? Because
if they are,
I'm under the assumption that typically a buyer of an assignment of contract is using hard money, right? So,
talk to the hard money lender, there's one right next to you.
yeah.
Hey Kevin, can hard money lenders buy down rates?
It's not typical in our world.
But can they do it?
Yeah, you can, yeah.
I
And
mean-
I guess if there was a valid reason for it, that this, we could structure it,
Nothing I'm doing here is typical, right? And I'm only on number 2. I'm gonna have you here till like 10 o'clock tonight. Are you cool with that? Everybody say yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got another question on this one? It's gonna get fucked up when I get into the real conversation. No, what's your question?
I mean, in this specific example, is this you as the actual owner of the home, not the contract owner?
I have done it both ways.
Okay. Have you wholesale a deal to a retail buyer?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you scan the QR code on that thing, right? The 4th transaction that'll teach you in there is something that's called the absolute assignment of rights. Not going into it tonight. You talk to my lawyers, I am actually the nation's leading expert on it because I fucking invented it. And it is a post-HUD assignment, and it is retailing a wholesale deal to an end buyer taking out a residential mortgage. It's all in that book. It's like the Bible.
And that's different than an ovation.
I'm not putting shit on the MLS, okay? And I'm not inventing fucking words, Pace Morby. Ovation, Twitter, come up with another good one, right? This is something that's actually functional, right? Assignment of contract. Ooh, let's call it wholesaling and sell it to everybody. Like they didn't see it again. Novation. They should just call it listing and assignment of contract on the MLS. And what the fuck does Novation stand for? I mean, he's a great information marketer, don't get me wrong. I'm gonna sell fucking hats with 4 fingers. I'm twice as good.
Question. On a deal like that, when you said you actually took this property down or no?
This is a hypothetical example.
Yeah, I'm just using it.
Yeah.
You actually took it down or can you sell it without you even owning it just with a straight contract?
You could do it with a contract,
Right.
you could do it with a deed.
Okay, so you don't have to actually take it down.
Taking it down,
But buying it or whatever, getting the money, transactional funding, whatever you wanna call
yeah, you could do it subject to, you could do it transactional funding,
it. Okay,
you could do it cash,
okay,
you
thank you.
could do it this, and you could do it that. Cool,
Gotcha.
good question. Thank you, Don.
I got one more, sorry, I just want to confirm. So, again, you having your buyers use your attorney and your mortgage broker is value for you, right? That's what.
It is,
Perfect.
it is how I closed 5 deals my first year, I had 200 grand. But most people can't get one off the ground because there is value in building a team. And as the captain of said team, you take care of all your players, don't you? So not only do you give them business, you don't be cheap and ask for a kickback, and you find out what their vice is. And when the deal closes, feel free to ship them a bottle of Hennessy or an 8-ball or whatever they like,
Gotcha.
right?
Just want to confirm.
Just say thank you.
Yeah.
In your own special way.
Okay.
Can I move on?
Yes.
AJ, I hope you're picking up on all this. Again, the reason why we do this is steering. 'Cause I don't want to get in the car with no steering wheel and go right into a fucking wall. I don't want to be a realtor. All right, down payment assistance and short-term personal loans. I'm gonna do this as one, right? This is lending your buyer the down payment to buy a property from you and getting it back at closing as the return of borrowed money. AJ and I have one of these closing very shortly, in the next 2 weeks. AJ and I closed one of these previously, only I was an asshole and I didn't tell him that's what was going on, I just closed it. So that's why he's got a front row seat here. I'm sorry, I apologize. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me.
We could be friends.
Can I move on?
Yes.
All right, the red is a little hard to read. I'm gonna use the same numbers, okay, on a lot of these. I didn't dig into my files to pull shit out because I wanted to keep it kind of uniform so we can learn from it. So, again, you own or have the same property under contract at $250. We've established that it's worth $300. We've established that the potential profit is $50,000. You're gonna sell it FHA for $300,000, right? FHA, you put down 3.5%. Does everybody understand that?
Yep.
Yep.
3.5% of 300,000 is 10,500. We're gonna create a short-term personal loan for 10,500. How do I give that money to the buyer?
Promissory note.
Partial credit.
What wire
Where do I wire it?
to their account?
Wrong. Don't ever do that.
Wire it to the title company or the attorney?
That's one way to do it. So first of all, you gotta understand that they do have to have the down payment and reserves sourced in season, okay? But much like the seller's concession, where they're gonna have an extra $15,000 in their bank account, with this, they're gonna have not only an extra $15,000 for closing and the rate buy down and everything, you're gonna have an extra $10,500 here because you are gonna give them the down payment. The way that I do this is I steer them to my mortgage broker that writes the loan, and then I steer them to my lawyer who understands how this is done. And they go through the whole underwriting process and they fund the loan, and I hear these magical fucking words from the mortgage broker. Maybe you've heard them before, clear to close, okay? That pretty much means that barring an act of God, the only thing that can prevent that deal from closing is the buyer and you not signing the HUD statement. Understood? And once you do enough transactions, you will even lose one because somebody dies in a car accident and the way the closing table is fucking terrible. So, at the time of closing, anybody ever bring a certified check to the closing? Okay. Now we have to understand how the banking system works. It is designed to fuck you every way possible. The way to remember this, and the way that I remember this from law school with a degree I did not get, is that when people rob banks, it is illegal. When banks rob people, it's business, right? So, in order for a check to be certified, the bank takes the money out of your account and they put it in their own account. And then they say something to you. And this is some out-of-the-box thinking. They go, and what name would you like on the check? At that point, I can have a check cut from Barack Obama to AJ Santana. And they have to do it. Because it's not coming from me anymore. The bank is certifying the funds and they're titling that, so you put the name of your buyer on that check. And you bring it yourself to the closing. And before you hand it to the title company, you have your buyer, and by the way, this document is in that book if you want to scan a little QR code too. Sign a short-term personal loan for that amount at an interest rate of 0. You can give them the seller's concession, you can give them the rate buy down, jacks your purchase price up to $290, your gross profit winds up being $25,000, then you have to back out the $10,500. Even though you'll get one check for $25,000, you then only have to pay capital gains tax on the $14,500. I did this one time where I lent somebody $80,000 for the day and I walked with $160 without the short-term personal loan. It was a shitty lesson. Fortunately, I was still in contact with the guy. I had him sign the short-term personal loan before I filed my taxes, and I didn't have to pay taxes on my own money. Have I lost the entire room?
No.
But,
Who's lost? It's okay to be lost. It's okay. This is like, you ever see The Matrix? Matrix? Why do my eyes hurt? Never used them. For the remainder of the presentation, refer to me as Morpheus.
But you'd actually have to have that money in your account before you can lend it. You can't just,
You or anybody else you know.
okay.
They could have certified funds. I mean, another way to do this, I know plenty of investors who are pretty savvy who will just have an LLC or brokerage account in an LLC that just sits there. And 3 months before the closing or before they sell the property to somebody, they sell that person the LLC on paper. The person never gets added to the bank account. Got it? But it's still technically their money. Sound familiar, boss? We just closed one like that where he refinanced out of his own property. You have to understand the rules of the game and see all the pieces on the board, and then you can play with them. It's hard to do it when you have a 9 to 5. Giant 3-dimensional puzzle. Any other questions on this?
How does this work? I mean, I know you said one way around it is, using the people that you choose, but how does it work when the bank wants the buyer to send like their bank statements and everything?
Okay, so, again, they have to have the money themselves, sourced and seasoned. Or if you had an LLC with that much money in it, sourced and seasoned, or you knew somebody who did, you could sell it to them on paper
Okay,
without actually adding them to the account.
okay,
And many lenders will accept that.
okay.
Is this a problem you're currently dealing with?
No, it's just some, question I had in case I, try to do this.
Good question. Can I move on? All right, refinancing into a subject to. When the seller of a subject to wants to walk with money and has not yet defaulted, this is gonna be an option for you. Has anybody seen one of these? You've seen it. You've seen it. You and I think have done this a few times.
Yeah.
You've seen it. Why can't you do it if you've defaulted?
Can't make good profit.
Well, no, you can make a profit if you've defaulted, provided that there's still equity in the deal. Okay, but you typically can't refinance if you miss the traditional mortgage payment. Got it? Unless it's 2005, then you could be like 3, 4, 6 months down, never make a mortgage payment, buy a house, sell it 6 months later, make $50,000, nobody cares.
How long do you have to wait before you can refinance if you miss one?
It's gonna go case by case, but if you've missed a mortgage payment and you want to refinance, I would talk to a lender. I would ask them how long it has to be. And then I would have Mike hook that person up with a credit restoration person, right? Especially if they're currently making all of their payments. Because you have any idea how credit restoration works?
Not all the way, but a piece of it.
I'm gonna give you the basic broad concept. You guys want this real quick?
Yeah.
All right. You got shit on your credit like a mortgage late. Does everybody understand the Fair Credit Reporting Act? Who does not? Keith, you do credit restoration? Guy right behind you does credit restoration. All right, so person who's gonna sell you credit restoration is gonna tell you it's gonna challenge all the outdated, inaccurate, blah, 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 whatever, right? The reality of it is, they're gonna pull your credit report, they're gonna take everything bad, right, Keith? You probably can't say this because he swore some oath or signed something or has a license, but I'm gonna say it because I have no fucking license.
They don't want you to know.
They don't want you to know, right? And then they're gonna write a letter to any payment you've missed. They're gonna write a letter to any bad debt, anything that's not supposed to be there. They're gonna send you all those letters. Your job is to sign them immediately and get them back in the mail to TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, same day, next day. It's all based on speed, right? TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, the three credit reporting companies in the United States of America, only have about 500 employees for 350 million people. You think they're any good at opening their mail? Right? So by law, they have to open your letter and respond to it back to you in 30 days or less. If they don't respond to you in 30 days or less, that legally has to fall off your credit report. It may come back, but who the fuck cares? You got your refinance, right? So even if they do respond, you send it back to Keith, whoever's doing your credit restoration, he sends them another letter, and you just fucking hammer them. And eventually they drop the ball. It's usually the first time. It takes 3 to 6 months. Okay? All these things are like little tools that go in your tool belt. You do like Batman when you're done.
Also, there's a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's much more than 3, but.
That's pretty good high level,
Right.
right? Those are the three mortgage companies use. Boom. All right, refinance was subject to. This will be a good question for everybody. Owe 200,000, asking 300,000, worth 300,000, right? Potential net profit of 100,000, seller wants to walk with 100,000. What do? Anybody?
Give it to them. Refi.
Well, what do? What do you do? Because then there's,
Sell financial,
Short it?
we can't short it because there's equity. You could try a partial seller finance, but they want to walk with 100 grand. What do?
jack up the price.
We can't jack up the price because it's only worth 300,000. And if we jacked up the price, a lot of this shit that I'm doing today walks the line. Pumping up the price above what it actually appraises for is criminal. I'm not going back, okay? It was one time in Pennsylvania, I was a disorderly person. Man, it was a party. All right, I think the best thing you can do is educate them, right? And there's only 2 reasons human beings do anything. Anybody know what those 2 reasons are?
Fair,
To avoid pain and seek out pleasure.
Yeah, to avoid pain and seek out pleasure. That's right. Say it again, come on.
To avoid pain and seek out pleasure.
That's it. And sales is nothing more, as you're selling yourself, is turning up the pain and offering the pleasure. So, anybody ever make an extra $100,000 in a year?
No.
It sucks. You educate them about taxes. Because on top of your salary or whatever, if you make an extra $100,000 in a year, you're giving almost half of it back to the IRS just immediately. You guys realize that? If you don't, I pray someday you do, so you learn this lesson the hard way. You only do it for a few years, and you're like, fuck, this sucks. You start to find a way around it. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck there forever. Financing the military or whatever it is you're doing. The war in Iraq. You paid for a missile with 50 grand, AJ. the way to look at it. So what if we did this instead? Refined the subject to the property is worth 200,000, or they owe 200,000, it's worth 300,000, they haven't missed the payment. What if we refinanced out at 250 or 275 for as much as we could, right? And they got a check for 50 or 60 or 70 or 75,000. Because it's a refi, and they are technically still the owner of the property, and they are borrowing that money back out. If you could do 100% refi for $100,000, this would be still better than you paying them, because there is no tax on borrowed money. Do we understand that?
You can refinance at 100, it's on the 80%.
I mean, you can't right now, this isn't 2005, but trust me, I can smell it. The economy is gonna fucking crash again. Okay, lending guidelines are starting to tighten up, market's going down a little bit, and everybody's talking about syndications. That's like exactly what was happening in 2000. I've lived this already, this is like Groundhog Day. This is what we're training for. Before you know it, people will say, there's no opportunity in real estate, and I'll just stop teaching it, and we'll do nothing but real estate. I mean, that was pretty much like 2008, 9, 10, 11, all the way to 2017. We got questions on this, or can I move on?
So you refine them out, and then with that new loan, you're taking subject to.
Correct.
Got it.
I might even do a tabletop closing in advance, not record my deed. Put it into a trust, right? Which, as long as I file an affidavit of consideration, in the book back there, would allow me to circumvent transfer tax. Don't me, no birthday, next month. And then after it closes, I just record my deed in my own. You got more money, you don't have to pay taxes. I got a property with equity now. You probably got more than you would have if I paid you the full 300 and you had to pay taxes on it. You win, I win, who gets hurt? The government. You understand that you learn to pay less in taxes. All right, can we move forward? Everybody say yes.
Yes.
Just want to make sure you're still with me. All right, upside down house, sub 2 loan mod. This one's for you, Juan. They owe 350, it's worth 300. Monthly payment is 2,500. Pretty similar to one that we've talked about, using ballpark numbers, just so you know. We modify the loan to 220. Problem is, the monthly rent is only 2,000. What do we do?
Modify it
Anybody but one?
again. Modify it again.
Airbnb is, especially if it's in a lake community, one. Or it doubles your rents. So that's actually one that we're currently working on. Looking for somebody to fund the rehab, currently modifying the loan. Matter of fact, we currently have it with no payment. Well, it's in the mod process. What do we think it's gonna take to rehab this thing, one?
50, 60.
50, 60? Think it's gonna be worth it?
Yeah, the numbers on it like 60, 65 a month.
Yeah, I was pretty conservative with my numbers. It's a lake community, and in the winter, it's a ski lodge community. So 50, 60, 6 a month, gotta find a good contractor up there to do it. This is in Highland Lakes, if anybody's interested in it. Everybody look at Mike, Mike's got the details. Can I keep going?
Yes.
Wow, We're actually doing all right. Seller owner financing, owner financed. So, full disclosure, whenever I come up against a free and clear property, my first line of defense is gonna be, wow, you got this thing paid off for $300,000? You're gonna have to pay taxes on $300,000. That sucks. But if I were to buy it for $300,000, and I were to take your $300,000, and instead of putting it in the bank where you're gonna have to give almost half of it back to Uncle Sam, we circumvented the bank and turned your equity into debt. See where I'm going with this? And we come up with a monthly payment or whatever makes you happy. When I do sell it, you get your $300,000 as the return of borrowed money, and instead of keeping $150,000, you keep $300,000. My only other term is you name your firstborn son after me. The 11 o'clock show is totally different. You see how it's a pretty easy sale when you know the rules of the game.
You don't entice them as far as time, they can make over 300K, you tell them about even an extra 2-3% for a period of time. You know,
I mean,
there's several ways to do it, I guess, I'm just saying.
yeah,
Everyone has their own flavor.
I mean, if you take a lot of fucking seminars, they tend to overcomplicate things and emphasize stupid shit, and like, the average person is not that sophisticated. I just doubled when you get the key. Hold on, wait, let me improve on perfection.
They already got the scam alert up.
Yeah, and I usually just ask them, you know, like, getting into an owner finance offer, what is it that you want? Well, I want $300,000, why? And if it's, well, I'm moving to Florida, okay, how much money do you need to move to Florida? None, I already bought my place, I just don't want to manage this. Well, have you thought about an income stream? That's a good question. And I have actually overpaid for owner finance properties many times, right? So if I buy this at $300,000 and I give you an interest rate of, round number, 10%, you're gonna pay taxes on the 10%. So what if I bought it at $350 and we're just paying down principal? I know we're already friends, but would you be even more friends, or?
Yes, sir.
How much are you willing to overpay for properties? Or does it?
So when you talk about owner financing deals, right? You can control the interest rate and you can control the payment schedule, right? So if you're gonna owner finance a $500,000 property to be a Volvo car for $1 million, $2 million, with no payments and no interest for the first 5 years, I'll take that fucking ride. What do I gotta do, pay taxes and insurance? What happens at the end of that 5-year period?
House, property.
Well, I don't know, you want it back? It's like, the market didn't appreciate that much, let me bring it back to reality. Any other questions?
So when you were educating the seller on their taxes, do you actually know how much they're gonna pay in taxes? Like, do you know their general tax rate or anything like that?
I usually ballpark it, but if they're walking with 6 figures, it's usually gonna be pretty substantial. We can dial it in, but first I wanna make sure I have their attention and I have their interest. If they're just hard-headed, I want this, I want that, people in hell want ice water, they're not getting it either. Let's start exhausting all your options, why don't we list it, we got a brokerage, let's try that. Oh, it didn't work, hold on, wait, let's list it for 6 more months, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. You mean you're not making your pay? Just have fun with it.
Yeah.
Make it hurt. Yo.
When you're negotiating terms, specifically the monthly payments,
Uh-huh.
do you typically offer a percentage of the market rent? How do you go about, let's say market rent's $2,000 a month, you'll start out.
I typically ask them, what would you like? My goal is to keep you retired. What do you need? How much do you need to move? Okay, there's a down payment, you know? I'll give you this if you give me that. I'll do you, you do me.
Yeah, but at a certain point, right, the monthly, it has to cash flow.
What do you think is fair?
With the market rent is 2,000, I would offer.
I don't know what they want. I don't make fucking offers. I do not make offers. Making offers is dumb. The only offer I make is an offer to help. I am not a mind reader. I am not a realtor. What's your offer? What's your offer? The house is a piece of shit and so are you. Why don't we start there? Okay? Works. What do you want? My goal is to give you what you want. I can't give you what you want if I don't know what that is. So please, I am not a mind reader. I have never once guessed correct. Pretty please, with sugar on top. How much of a monthly payment do you fucking want? Let's start there. Waiting.
Almost 2,000.
Okay. Now maybe I'll look on my phone and see, okay, I can rent this for 3,000, right? Okay, 2,000 a month. Now, write this next line down. Is that the best you can do?
Negotiate probably go down to 18.
Getting pretty fucking uncomfortable here, right? Just have fun with it, because I can literally feel you shrinking in your chair. I also have cultivated the magical ability to make the clock tick louder. Did you know every second, every minute that passes, we get that much closer to death? Oh shit, maybe you should get that. I think it's the Reaper. Make it fucking have fun with it. You may think this is just for you, but go out to look at a house with me. Bring tissues.
Sorry, how do you give it back 5 years later?
This didn't work out.
But what in the contract makes you get out?
Says I gotta pay him $2 million on a $500,000 house at the end of 5 years. I can't do that. No lender will give me that much money because it is not worth that much.
So you don't owe him $2 million.
I owe him $2 million when I sell the house, but he now has two options. He can foreclose on me, right? Now, it doesn't affect my credit because it's an owner finance mortgage and they don't affect your credit. So it's just a foreclosure in name and name only, just like a subject to. And let me tell you, once you learn how to get foreclosed on without affecting your credit, it is a fucking party. That's how half these people got here. I buy houses and step into the shoes of people that are in foreclosure and they market to me. I have this like cigar event thing. And people come up to me and they go like, wow, this is like the greatest room of actual people in the tri-state area that are really truly doing shit. Most of them found me because I am in foreclosure like 29 times and they market to me and they go, holy shit, AJ, I got a postcard from this guy. Call him up, invite him, I want to see what he's doing. Because they're spending money on marketing. I get texts, hey, you want to sell your house or whatever? I'm like, want to hang out? I think you're cool. We should be friends. So he can foreclose on me, it's costly, or I can just give it back to you right now, or you could even renegotiate terms. But if it's only worth, again, determined by cops, $500,000, and you owe $2 million, you can't get blood from an attorney. Got it? Pretty wild. This is how the real world works. If somebody wanted to pay cash for more than it's worth, they can do that. And I've actually had that happen one time. And that was because I had a house that was in foreclosure that was owned by the pitcher on the Mets. And some guy wanted to actually buy that house to brag to his friends that he owned that guy's house, and it came with season Mets tickets. So I don't know if you really overpaid, I think you actually got a deal on the tickets by overpaying. Man. It's a good question, though. It's a really good question. Does anybody else have any? Are we enjoying this?
Yes.
Like, are we learning some shit? It's totally different stuff you've never seen before. Okay.
My question is, whenever I talk to free and clear properties and I offer them owner finance, most of the time they're open to the idea, but they always want to get cash out like 2-3 years.
Okay. So go for the ride, man. You don't have to marry every one of them. You could spin plates and date a few at the same time. And at the end of 2 years, you either get them cashed out, you sell it, or it didn't work out.
But if
I'm
I
sorry,
give, if I give
it's
them
not
a-
me, it's you.
I understand what you're saying, but if I give them a down payment, even if I cash flow,
Why would you do that?
what if they want a down payment?
People in hell want ice water, they're not getting
I
that either.
understand, but just to make this deal happen, hypothetically speaking, I put down a down payment that I thought it was fair, they were happy with it,
How much was it?
let's call it 5%,
How much is that?
20 grand.
And how much are you making positively cash flowing over the course of the next 2 years?
40 grand.
40 grand. So you made 20 grand. If you lose your down payment, you still made 20 grand. You doubled your money in 2 years. Quick, everybody give your money to Juan. He knows what the fuck he's doing.
I would take that, yeah.
You understand? Like, a lot of people are gonna bet on those odds. So what are you afraid of?
Because when I look at the deal, that I don't want to lose in these 2 years. I only want to get into a deal that I know I'm going to keep forever, or until I want to get rid of it.
And the beauty of this too, right? I mean, you doubled your money in 2 years.
Yeah.
It's still really cool,
It is.
because you're dealing with a person, not a bank. But even with a bank, you can renegotiate. What if the market goes down? Hey, listen, the market went down. Do you want the house back? Do you want me to refinance out for less? What do you want to do here? We've been sending you your monthly payment or not, or whatever it is you needed and required, you got your down payment. But this moving piece of the puzzle, right, that I and you don't control, the economy does, has not added up. So, can you and I work this out? Or would you like it back? Because I don't want to fight. It's a difficult conversation.
Yeah, no, it makes
Right,
sense.
and
It
like-
makes a lot of sense.
You're gonna have, how many years you been doing this?
2 years.
You are gonna have difficult conversations you haven't even fucking imagined. I read somewhere a long time ago, you can judge a man's wealth and his success in his future by the amount of difficult conversations he's willing to have.
Cool.
You know a little bit about my life, you think I've had a few of them?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I'm right out of the gate.
I appreciate that. It's a new perspective to look at it.
Yeah, write that one down, man. That's a really good one. I can tell you got something on your mind, you look tired like me.
All day, but I'm good.
Yeah, you sure?
Yeah.
All right, just wanna make sure you're okay.
No, I appreciate it.
No problem, brother. I like your feedback, and I'm glad you like the perspective. Everybody else, can I keep going?
Yes.
You still having fun?
Yes.
Cool, cool. All right, selling subject to. Oh, 300,000. This should say by subject to. Whoops, I missed that one, Mike. My bad. By subject to for 300,000. Monthly payment, 2,500. Market goes up, what do? You could refi. If you refi, you could pull out a little bit of money, but you can only have so many loans on your credit to begin with. What if somebody wanted to buy it, but they couldn't get a loan?
Wrap that around.
What is this wraparound shit? It sounds way too much like reach around. It's just
Sell it
not
right.
good.
That's not Tuesday.
What if, yeah. What if I just got a down payment from somebody of 50 grand? And I just deeded the property over to them. I taught them how to do a subject to. Right, or maybe, I mean, I don't know if it's wraparound shit, but maybe they just give me 20 grand. I could hold a private second for 30. I still, like, wrap around, throw that in a fucking bucket with no patience.
No, I didn't mean like a rap, like pretty much what you just said, just you're gonna give them, not give them out, they're gonna give you a big down deposit, and they're gonna be the owner, and you're not gonna take care of tenant toilets and terminals.
I want a holiday. It's kind of like the purge, where I get to be like 17 for a day and not charged as an adult, where I can just go around and beat the shit out of real estate photos for inventing stupid terms. For things that already exist and not be prosecuted as an adult. That's what I want. That's not happening either. Just a private second, it's fine. We don't have to call our beach around or whatever. There's just no fucking reason for these terms. Why don't we just call what we legally are? Because I can't sell you a course that way. Oh, at the end of this, I'm gonna sell you a course. It's actually, there's a free one right there on the thing. All the paperwork for this is in there. This is one that I got right now, right? There's two ways that I could do this. This is a property we've had for how long? Almost 5 years?
Yeah.
17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 6 years, right? So we just found out that there is some back association fees on this. We're gonna get a payment on that, right? If somebody wants to come up with that and a little bit of profit, we'd be willing to deed that over to them subject to. It will not report to your credit. You gotta learn how to manage it. Or be a partner on it. Anybody interested in something like that?
What's the price?
I don't fucking know. Get Mike. Talk to Mike behind you. He'll let you know.
Mike
I think-
behind you.
Yeah, I think we still need to get the payoff from the association, and I can give it to you if you are seriously interested. But if you're asking just to ask, we still don't have the answer yet, hoping maybe by Friday. I'm waiting for the association to go through their turnaround time, which is the amount of time it takes them to turn around in their chair, open their email, turn back around, calculate how much it is, and then go back and email it to us. All right, last one. And finish up strong. We all good here?
Yes.
We're having fun?
Yes.
Cool. Good.
We're learning.
Good. Who's, you're learning,
We're learning.
you're learning, I can see some lights coming on, ovation, having fun there. Reach around.
Reach around.
I keep hearing the drill sergeant from Full Metal Jacket in my head, and that's background shit.
Just let me know when you start smelling the apron.
Love the smell of napalm in the morning. Smells like a victory. All right, encumbering your property with debt you own, right? So this could be done if you have a free and clear property. This could be done if you have a property with equity in it, right? This is, in my humble opinion, something that lawyers should do for their clients as asset protection. At the same time, they put properties into LLCs, which is technically questionably legal, because they are breaching the due on sale clause on residential mortgages when they do it, but they don't want to put properties in the land trust because that's fucking complicated, they don't understand how to do it, and they pay me a lot more money to teach them. It's kind of cool when you get a lawyer on the phone, you go, I'm gonna need a retainer. So he's laughing now. So, in this situation, you got a house that you owe zero on, right? And one of the worst things on fucking planet Earth, you don't want to pay off property. Does everybody understand that? Especially in your name. You know I love you, Lindsay, right? I do. Don't even open your mouth, please. It's beautiful. Fix it, I promise. All right. If you own a property in your name that's paid off, why is it bad? Or if you own a property with a lot of equity in your name, why is it bad?
Dead money.
Dead money could be one thing.
If someone trips and falls in front of it, they can sue you. But if you have like the lien holder, who holds like the first mortgage, they would have to go for the lien holder.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, you wanna know how I could just speak my mind and be an asshole 24/7?
Sure.
Because I don't have the same exposure as a normal person, because I understand the rules of the game, right? And everybody wants to work and want a paid off house, and if you own it in your name, or even if you own it in an LLC, you're still a target. Because anybody ever get sued in an LLC? Nobody? Oh, you guys haven't lived. AJ has wronged me, right? Hypothetically.
Let's be clear.
I was given a presentation about creative real estate. He started talking about fucking reach arounds. I don't know.
Got the wrong guy.
I wake up tomorrow morning, I feel sexually harassed. I took lots of pictures tonight. I got the sign-in sheet. I go to my lawyer. I got this guy, AJ Santana. He said some off-color things. He was giving me the elevator eyes. I'm just not sure. Triggered my childhood trauma. I want to sue him. What does a lawyer do?
Check
Look
my
up
assets.
who AJ is, what he has.
Yeah,
The lawyer immediately does an asset search on AJ Santana, right? So they're gonna see all of his bank accounts, all of his real estate holdings, everything else that he has. If AJ has a lot of money in a bank personally, if AJ has a lot of money in a bank in an LLC that they can see that he owns, if AJ has a stock portfolio, if AJ possibly has a retirement account, sometimes they can get that. If AJ has real estate that has a tremendous amount of equity in it or is possibly paid off. Oh, wait. Possibly paid off. The lawyer is gonna look at me and he's gonna go, "Sir, I believe you were wronged." And not even gonna show me his computer screen, he's gonna sit there and go, "Mr. Santana, I believe he's guilty. And we're willing to take this case based on consignment." Anybody know what that is? Yeah. If you want to sue somebody, right, and the lawyer says they're going to take the case on consignment, that means that AJ Santana has a fucking tremendous amount of exposure. You may have a couple $100,000, a couple $1 million worth of equity, bank accounts, everything. The lawyer's gonna look at it and go, "You know something, Chuck? We'd be willing to take this case against Mr. Santana for a third of what you receive." Because they already know they can win. Now, if AJ has no exposure, his properties are in land trusts, they're encumbered by debt, right? People that he knows, loves, and trusts. AJ doesn't have any bank accounts that they can find. The lawyer is gonna go, "You know, I'm not too sure about this, Mr. Santana. I think we can get him. I believe we can, but it's not gonna be cheap. We're gonna need at least a $10,000, $15,000, $50,000 retainer." If a lawyer asks you for a retainer for a lawsuit, you are going to fucking lose. It is a coin flip, at best. However, if AJ Santana's got $1 million property and AJ Santana proceeds to sexually harass me, like he often does, I'm not even sure I want to let this guy in anymore. Right? But he's got a sister. Got a sister with a different last name? Right? And AJ creates a mortgage for $2 million payable to his sister. His sister wouldn't do you wrong, right? Either one of them.
I said, yeah.
And they record that against this $1 million house. Even if I paid the retainer and I sued AJ and they forced the sale of the property, I wouldn't get anything. It's a short sale. There's no equity. There's nothing to come after.
Does it have to be a person over 18 years old?
You know something? I am not 100% clear on it, and I really want to thank you for asking me a question that I can't answer tonight. I do have a partial answer for you, because it's rare that somebody does that, so now I'm going to get smarter. Thank you. So I know that if it is a person under 18 years old, like your children, right, you're going to have to read into stealing laws. You can go and you can open something up called a CISA, which is like a solo education something. It used to be a Coverdell IRA, right? It's the new education plan. And before you did this, Elena, I would put your property into a land trust so they can prove that you own it. And I would probably make payments on that mortgage for an anonymous account, but there is no mortgage, so I think you're good. Right, so you go there, you're gonna put it in one of these educational IRAs. That would be then leaned against the property. You would fund that IRA with no more than $6,000 and no less than $200. You would create the document, record it. You would buy that note for like $100 out of your kid's educational IRA, record it against your property. And if you accidentally ever ran over somebody while you were dropping your kids off at school, or if you sexually harassed AJ, it happens. And they force the sale of the property, right? Even if they force the sale of the property, all the equity, if it was over leveraged by your kid's educational IRA, would go there first before any creditors or predators got anything. So I know that will work. Now, I have had kids under 18 buy houses, and a 16-year-old kid buy one, subject to, but I'm unclear on that loan thing, so I'll get you an answer by tomorrow. Cool. Good question. I like that. One.
So would you be able to do like in that hypothetical situation, right, where he doesn't want to be exposed with all this equity, would he be able to write up that note between him and his sister, like you said, and the sister never make a payment on it, but it still kind of covers him from having like?
You're assuming that AJ constructed a mortgage with his sister that has payments. Maybe. Maybe it's just a fee for being a sister. She gave him a note from being a great sister, or he gave her a note from being a great sister that's recorded against the property for $2 million with no interest and no payments for the next 50 years. That passes on to her kids if she dies. You hear me? Because you control the terms.
Yeah. That's good.
So it's just a liability protection instrument, basically.
If you have no equity, you have no equity. The money doesn't actually need to exchange hands. It can be in exchange for service provided. Got me? Once, twice. More questions on this?
So is that second position?
If the house is free and clear, it's first position. If you have a first mortgage and you record a mortgage on top of that, it's second position. I would make sure it's drastically over leveraged, so when you do pay off the first mortgage, that then becomes first position and it's over leveraged, but you can always recast the mortgage to yourself using the note that I gave you. I mean, or you put a second to the new kid that you have. So,
Let's switch the tables around a little bit. Let's say the person you do trust and love turns bad on you. What can happen? You lose everything?
it's very good that you said that, and that's why we have insurance policies. So at the same time they sign the mortgage, they could also sign a discharge. And you just keep that in the fireproof box in your parents' house, wherever you have it. And, you know, AJ's sister did some horrible shit. I don't know what it is, but it's not good. AJ goes, discharges that, it's over. And creates another one to an LLC that he owns. Let's hope AJ doesn't do some horrible shit to himself. I beg to differ. Again, I'm gonna wrap it up, right? stay home strong, we'll try to get out of here by 10. What would that? If they say yes, keep it late.
Yes.
Have we enjoyed this, or is this like way too fucking high level? Has anybody seen anything like this before? You know why? Because most of the people that are teaching you, like all of them, aren't fucking doing this. Hate to break it to you. Spent 5 years as a professional public speaker, and what you start to learn is that Dean Gracioso is a hired actor. So is Carlton Sheets. So is Dan Merrill. They don't even own their fucking company. I hope I get sued for that. That's why I have it on all social media platforms. No more than they will. They're not gonna get it.
Quick question, Chuck, what's the purpose of the over leveraging?
Over leveraging it is not only do I have zero equity, over leveraging is I don't want to redraw the mortgage every couple of years, months, whatever. So if I over leverage it, even if they do force the sale, right? Like let's say you were gonna get married, you had a paid off house and you recorded a mortgage against that paid off house worth $250 for $300,000. And, you know, you got married, you owned it beforehand, there's a mortgage payable to your sister, $300,000, house is worth $250, you get divorced, house is a marital asset, right? You want to force the sale of it. Your sister now gets that $250,000 as the return of borrowed money, it's tax-free, you're welcome. And just as an added bonus for holding the mortgage on your house with no payments and no interest for your life, when she does get cashed out, she also gets a $50,000 write-off, because why not, right? Pretty cool.
So regarding deeding it to the land trust,
Mm-hmm.
if you have a lender in first position, well, can you do it?
Is it a traditional lender?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you read the Federal Depository Act of 1982, which I've read, right? Okay, I didn't read it, I listened to it, it was like so long ago, I actually paid somebody to read it to me. Adaptive technology wasn't there yet. In 1982, they have made all residential mortgages non-assumable. I'm not sure how to plug that shit. I don't know. So in 1982, they made all residential mortgages non-assumable. The reason why banks did that is because they make most of their money by writing new loans. So when you sell your house, you have to take out a new loan, with a whole bunch of fees and closing costs and other wild shit. And then if you look at the amortization table of your loan, on top of that, the first 15 years, you're predominantly just paying off interest. So if it's a $300,000 loan, at the end of 15 years, it's gonna be like $290,000. And then the last 15 years on the back end is when you're paying off principal. So if you read the Federal Depository Act of 1982 that makes residential loans non-assumable, there's a court case that follows that. It's the Garden St. Germain court case. Don't ask me to spell it, just Google it, it's fucking out there. And what that does is it actually says that it's quasi-legal to take a property that has a residential loan and deed it into an LLC, because technically you're violating the due on sale clause. However, the one legal way to do it is to take it out of your name and put it into a land trust, which is conceivably for estate planning purposes. And you can plan your estate at any point in your life, even if you're 25, like this guy right here. Right? And the state corroborates that story with you by giving you another document when you file a land trust called an affidavit of consideration. So if you transfer title with a $300,000 mortgage into an LLC, you have to pay transfer tax on that $300,000. But if you put it into a land trust with an affidavit of consideration, you consider that a family transfer to family transfer, and there is no transfer tax, so you save that as well.
Nice. So my property is in an LLC.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Like, can I do the same thing? It's a rental property.
You might have to pay transfer tax again. You bought it in your name first, then you put it into an LLC.
Now, there's hard money you refi it into
So if you ask your hard money lender, they're probably gonna say no. And if you ask any lender, they're probably gonna say no, because they barely know any of these laws to begin with. But what's the one thing that any lender or any bank really cares about? Exactly. So if you keep doing that, you should be okay. And I've called some of these traditional lenders, and I've been like, hey, I'm gonna take this property and put it into a land trust, is that okay? I'm like, what? He said, we're going under, we're like, we got bad mortgages over here, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like the Clash of the Titans, man.
So just try it.
Your worst case scenario is like Juan over here, hey, don't do that. Why, I'm still paying that loan, because we said so. Is there repercussions? No. If there is, yes. Okay, I'll beat it back. My bad. We cool? We got any more questions on this? You got a question? You're just blown away, huh? I think we have to start doing these in hotel rooms. What do you guys think? Would that be better? Can I have run this shit? Yeah. All right. This is what we covered tonight if you want to take a picture of it. Sellers concessions, rate buy downs, down payment assistance, short-term personal loans, refinancing into a subject to upside down, sub to loan mods, and we did that into an Airbnb. Selling owner finance, selling subject to, and encountering properties with debt you own. And Cynthia, if you want to see an audio recording of this, I'm just going to hit the post button at the end of this, so it'll be like in the Creative Real Estate Club Facebook group. If you guys want to watch it, should even be able to download it. I hope that helps you out. Elena?
You mentioned you audited all real estate law classes, but they don't teach that.
They do teach a lot of this shit, but they stick to the basics. It's in the texts. I've hunted down a lot of people who have done this. Many of the lawyers who taught me how to do this are now dead, right? And
So it's complex.
lawyers basically worry about not getting in trouble themselves. They don't actually think about this stuff. They don't actually practice this stuff. They just care about the simple stuff. And, oh my God, I don't want to lose my license. It's even more harder to get than a real estate license. And if I screw up, the repercussions are even higher. But I'm a linger. They teach some of this, they don't teach you how to apply it, which is why I've been invited back to speak at the practical application of real estate law at City Hall. They give you pieces of it. All the answers are out there on public record, right? You just have to be obsessive enough to find them. And none of this I got from one place. This is the culmination of an almost 20-year journey. Getting my ass kicked a lot. And getting tired of it. Going, I don't want to pay more taxes. I don't want to lose anymore. You know what? We said, I'm not going to acknowledge it. I'm just going to keep being happy. Happy is like the new rich. All right. I gave you the three basic parts of a real estate transaction: legal, title, and finance. We want to control all three. We want to ethically bribe our buyer to use our people with phantom profit that we didn't have yet, because we know that 50 cents today is worth more than $1 that will never materialize, correct? You say yes. Jesus Christ, keep you awake, all right? If I had to figure out what I would want to control next, honestly, I think it would be title and then legal. And that's just because some title companies will be cool with the transactions you're doing, some will not. If you have one that's cool with it, it's better to stick with them. If you've got a lawyer that doesn't like what you're doing, or thinks that you're doing something wrong and they have to research it, you know what the answer is? Find a new lawyer, or shut the fuck up, I'll pay you double. You see how much you're making here? And I think honestly, in the beginning of this, why I had a lot of trouble with lawyers is because they go, this can't be legal. Why not? Because you're 25. And you're making more on one transaction than I have in my fucking career. What's your fault? and bring it home.
Yes.
This is how we get into it. We buy houses with little money and no credit. We don't write big checks. We do not guarantee debt. And we do not work with people who do not want to work with us. I wrote the rules, I can break them. You can't, especially when you're starting off, okay? The goal is to keep you guys out of trouble. We predominantly do wholesaling subject to and short sales. There is a whole host of hybrids that come along with this. There's a course on the thing back there if you want to scan it, right? We do ready fire in real estate. We do not do comps. We do not do research. We get on the phone. We talk to sellers. We make appointments. The more appointments we make, the more money we make. The more you make, the more you make. Can you say that? It works. Okay? We do it by taking massive, massive action. Right? Where's my people who haven't done a transaction yet? Would you like to do one? Want to take some action? You gotta put the work in. Are you willing to put the work in? If you don't, it's gonna make you look bad. So everybody, eyes on the screen. Ready for this? Here comes a serious question. How many of you guys own one of these?
Got the wraparound GoPro?
That's what it is. Right? So I bought one of these in 1996 when I got into college. I got into college because I excelled at a particular sport. I was pretty good at wrestling. Not really good at school, but hey, I can get an A+ and kick in your ass. And the problem is I had to miss classes and I started failing out. I said, great, now I gotta have some kind of outlet for this physical aggression. So I'm watching late night TV and there it is, the ab roller. And this is it. I'm gonna buy one of these fucking things and boom! 7 years later, I became New Jersey's largest drug-free competitive bodybuilder. 2011, you can Google it. I am first runner-up heavyweight Mr. America on a national level. What did I do? I just fucking did crunches. That's it, right? Anybody want to take a guess?
After that, you bought the car.
I read the fucking manual, and it said, used in conjunction with a healthy diet and exercise program, this can become part of a lifetime process to achieve your fitness goals. It's the same fucking formula I applied with real estate. You're not gonna believe it, it worked. All you gotta do is put the work in. So if I gave you all the shit to put the work in, would you do it? Because I hate when I give people my playbook and they go, it doesn't work. Kill yourself, okay? I kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. I got into college, I was 160 pounds. When I graduated, I was 295. And my waist only went up by 4 inches. Doctor says I have high testosterone. Tried to refine it, couldn't do it. Went out and I hired a mentor. Not the Terminator, the guy who gets him in shape for his movies. Your boy Israel knows him. We have a mutual friend.
Sir.
I paid an assload of money for this guy to kick my ass and monitor my diet and rip me apart weekly until I got where I wanted to be. This is a process. Whatever you focus on, expand, the more time you put into it, the better results you will get. Right? Guys, this is not a business for me. This is a beautiful obsession. This is what I do for fun. Like, I am lucky. I am fortunate. My wife goes, dude, you're the only person I ever know who got up in the morning and you're like, you like look forward to going to work. I'm like, holy shit, I thought I was just going to go hang out with AJ, Mike, Link, and some mom and have fun. Damn it. April 1st, we got a tabletop closing class. I'm going to show you guys how to walk into a house and walk out in 90 minutes or less. I'm going to give you all the paperwork. I'm going to teach you what to say, right? You go in, out, and own it, and have it under contract, and be able to say that you do, because you, in fact, legally will. Do you think that is powerful? Do you like that power? Okay, let's get into it. On top of that, we're gonna enroll you guys in our C4 program. You cannot take the tabletop closing class without being part of the C4 program. What good is it if you are not talking to sellers? You're gonna have the paperwork. It's like having condoms and not going on dates. You wanna use them, it's your goal. And every time you go into a meeting with a seller, you're gonna hold the paperwork under your arm to remind yourself, if you don't push for the close, you are an epic failure. Most of the guys in the room know this tactic. It's like keeping the economy in front pocket. Oh God, I'm a loser if I don't push for the close. Gotta at least get rejected, right? So I'm gonna give you guys about $52,000 worth of shit for next to nothing, and then you're either gonna use it or you're gonna fail. I'm gonna give you guys pre-foreclosure lists. If you're gonna buy them on your own, it's about $90 a month. We skip trace them for you. We make sure you actually have to make 75 calls a week. Each lead would cost you guys about 15 cents, but because we do it together as a group, we get a little bit of a discount. We put you guys on an auto dialer. If you're gonna buy the auto dialer yourself, the dialer is about $100 a month. You don't even have to push the buttons. It just sits there. You call people, you log everything into a CRM. All of your calls are recorded so we can critique you. You go, you said this wrong, you said this right, okay? We give you online coaching in a private Discord. We meet 3 times a week. We meet Monday, we meet Friday, and we give you about an hour and a half lesson on Saturday, where we do review some of your calls, go over your leads, go over your deals, because we don't even make money on this shit. It is a loss leader for us. We make money by partnering with you when you close deals. Many times, I'm the one who goes out to the houses with you. You don't believe that, do you? We bought a couple together, met with a few sellers. The other gentlemen are here and here. We give you live in-person coaching sessions scheduled in the field when you make an appointment with a seller. The goal is to get you to be able to go on your own and meet with somebody and walk out owning the house. However, you think you might need a little hand-holding at first? I honestly have next to no idea how I was able to do this by myself the first time. I was like in an absolute state of panic. Like by the fucking grace of God, I made it. So I could think of a million ways that I would have failed. So I was thinking, holy shit, we gotta systemize this so other people can do it. We give you access to PropStream and the MLS in-house. However, you don't get to use it until you have a property under contract. Because pulling comps and doing research is fucking stupid. And if you're talking to somebody and then you sit on your computer and you obsess over shit instead of going, one of my guys is gonna beat you to the punch. You get a call, you go. This is where the whole action is your most valuable asset thing comes into play. There's no reason to look up numbers on something. Don't solve a problem you don't have yet. We're going to give you guys a copy of the Turning Houses binder. If you want it, it's yours for free tonight. That's the old one. Scan it. It's on the QR code. It's a 200-page binder. There's 24 hours of audio. It is not just me. It is my legal team. It is my mortgage broker. Everybody in between explaining how this works right here in the state where you guys live. We also got it down in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut. Anybody recognize some of my testimonials?
Yes, sir.
Oh my God, there's Matt Marathoff, there's Farhan, there's Nick Tang, John Boyle. Literally everybody in this business is my resume. This is what you guys would pay for all of this shit if you were to get it yourself annually. Pretty expensive, right? We're doing this for you. If you're going to do it by yourself, it's $55,000. We charge $500 a month. You're in on the tabletop closing event on the 1st. You sign up tonight, it's $250 for the first month. And you're in on the class this weekend. How many of you would like to go? Show of hands. You guys are already going. All right. Mike is in the back. He will take care of it for you. I would like to thank you guys for coming out. Can you guys do me a favor? Everybody please stand up. Take your left hand, raise it up as high as it goes. Take your right hand, raise it up as high as it goes. Put them together 3 times. Everywhere I go, I'll get a standing ovation. Yeah, I was afraid that I'm gonna have to run some fucking lines with that shit.
Sure.